On 6/10/22, I sent this email to John Miller, Lapeer County, Michigan prosecuting attorney. I've made all my information anonymous because I'm a private citizen and I have that right to do so. I'm dealing with public servants who don't have that right. I sent copies to Governor Gretchen Whitmer, Attorney General Dana Nessel, Senator Kevin Daly, State Legislator Gary Howell, Michigan State Secretary of State Judges Hannah Meyer and Judge Soma, Lapeer Community Mental Health Law Enforcement Liaison Danielle Giles, Attorney Fred Miller, who is my court-appointed assistant. I'm acting as my own attorney. I have been trying to act as my own attorney since June of 2020, and Lapeer County could care less about my right to do so, my constitutional right to do so. I also wrote to Alex Killam, Nate, and Brandon of the Intoxilock Customer Advocacy Group. This is an 11-page letter, and I said, please acknowledge receipt of the 11-page email and attach PDF file. And the letter reads, hello, Mr. Miller. Last June, you showed me falsified injury pictures of Elmont police officers Wilson and Best that you falsely claim I caused. I have asked you for all evidence when I became my own attorney. Start over again. I have asked for all evidence when I became my own attorney in June of 2020, and your department has failed to comply ever since. In an envelope dated 4/20/22 that you sent to my old address and was forwarded to my new address on 4/24/22, which was 2 days before my trial was supposed to begin. You sent me a letter stating the People's Exhibit list that mentions 5 photographs and 2 DVDs that I never received. I never received the warrant that you intentionally and maliciously swore out for my arrest for failure to appear for opening day of my trial that I have battled your department to get for almost 3 years when you know it's a complete and utter lie. You had full knowledge of my 16-day Secretary of State mandated interlock device failure, and you used it as a weapon to attempt to destroy my case that you can't win honestly. I've been asking you for evidence that is crucial to my defense, and you have refused in violation to the Brady Rule. And here's the Brady Rule. The Brady Rule, named after Brady versus Maryland, requires prosecutors to disclose materially exculpatory evidence in the government's possession to the defense. The Brady material or evidence the prosecutor is required to disclose under this rule includes any evidence favorable to the accused. If the prosecution does not disclose material exculpatory evidence under this rule, the prejudice has ensued, the evidence will be suppressed. Mr. Miller, you must suppress your fake evidence. I've been asking Mr. Miller for that evidence since June of 2021. The evidence will be suppressed. Whether the prosecutor knew the evidence was in his or her possession, or whether or not the prosecutor intentionally or inadvertently withheld the evidence from the defense. Further, in cases subsequent to Brady, the Supreme Court has eliminated the requirement for a defendant to have requested the favorable information, stating that the prosecution has a constitutional duty to disclose. Let me repeat that. The prosecution has a constitutional duty to disclose. But the Lapeer County doesn't understand the Constitution or the Bill of Rights. Prosecutors are required to give the defense all evidence, including evidence that may be favorable to the defendant. Unfortunately, the prosecution sometimes plays fast and loose with exculpatory evidence. And if the defense doesn't know the evidence exists, it may be hidden by the prosecution and not available in discovery, leaving the defendant at a disadvantage. Brady versus Maryland also requires that the prosecutor disclose evidence that the prosecution knows or reasonably should have known would cast doubt on a prosecution witness's testimony. Disclosure under Brady and the ethics rules promulgated by the California State Bar are important components of our justice system and help ensure that we live under the rule of law, not under the rule of man. Lapeer County still doesn't understand that. Prosecutorial misconduct. Has withholding evidence become common? Prosecutors have a constitutional duty to turn over any exculpatory evidence to the defense. The Supreme Court held that a defendant must have the right to have evidence found by the prosecution revealed to the defense, and when the evidence has the potential of affecting the outcome of the criminal case. You don't think fake pictures of Elmont police would affect the outcome of my criminal case? However, the prosecution failed to reveal this crucial information to the defense. This is termed a Brady violation. As Judge Kaczynski bluntly put it, there is an epidemic of Brady violations abroad in the land. Only judges can put a stop to it. And that's what Judge Halowka of the Lapeer County District Court has to do Monday the 13th at 1:30 p.m. Mr. Miller, unless my state-mandated interlock device fails again, I will be in your court Monday, June 13th, 2021 at 1:30 p.m. demanding my right to a constitutional speedy trial that as of today you have dragged out for 1,006 days, and that's 2 years, 9 months, and 1 day in violation of my constitutional right to a speedy trial. In 1,006 days, I have never been to court yet. How is that possible? I have never been to court. I've never sat in any of your district or court hearings and heard your side, my side, or anything regarding my case. I've been my own attorney since June of 2020. I've never been able to present any evidence crucial to my defense. I gave you my evidence to you on January of 2021. You have done nothing with it, John. Why? In June of 2020, I had a remote Zoom hearing in Judge Barnard's court. I was in my own home, and I couldn't hear anything. I asked Judge Barnard when I was finally going to trial. I said her court was in violation to my habeas corpus right to a speedy trial, and I was immediately thrown out of Judge Barnard's COVID court. And I made a video of that too, and it's posted on my Almont Senior YouTube channel. And I have a right to film anything I want in my own home. Mr. Miller, you have my evidence. You've had my evidence since January 2021. You've never refuted any of it. Why? I thought you were on my side. How is it possible or legal to drag out my case for almost 3 years and I've never been to court yet? John, the day I met you in January 2021, I handed you what is now over 140 evidence videos that prove my innocence. In Lapeer County, DHH Supervisor Rhonda Lansing's intentional gross negligence that is responsible for destroying my home at a cost of $15,000, and Social Security fraud by committing me to Medicare Part B against my will without my signature and over my vehement demands that I did not want Medicare Part B that cost me over $12,000 to date. And I forgot to add this too. When I was thrown in a mental institution after I was thrown in jail for 2 weeks, I went on a 2-week hunger strike. So Lapeer County shipped me off to McLaren Geriatric Medical Ward in Bay City for another 2 weeks, and I demanded to be released, and I had a lawyer come in, and he told me that they could keep me indefinitely unless I signed my Medicare Part B immediately, or they would keep me indefinitely. So they forced me to sign my Medicare Part B at that time, and that's the only way they let me go. Okay, and going onward. She committed Social Security fraud by committing me to Medicare Part B against my will, without my signature, and over my vehement demands that I did not want Medicare Part B, and that cost me over $12,000 to date. I've got videos going back from all the way from the beginning when I complained to Rhonda Lansing, and then I got involved with the Adult Protective Services, and I had an Adult Protective Services agent that was working with me, and he was supposed to be investigating all this stuff. He didn't do anything. That's $27,000 Rhonda Lansing did to me in less than 2 months after applying for benefits in November 2016. And then Rhonda Lansing left me to die without drinking water for over 2.5 years. Lapeer County Mental Health Law Enforcement Liaison Danielle Giles finally got a plumber to get my water running in March of 2020 after 2.5 years of being without water for simple survival. I showed Danielle Giles my ADA, that's Americans with Disabilities Act, federal and state legal right to transportation to access public services, which includes transportation to attend court. So her department provided transportation to allow me to successfully attend all court hearings in Lapeer County. This is another incident. In May of 2019, I was out of drinking water for over 6 days, and I attempted to drive my vehicle without a license and insurance to get drinking water. But I was arrested by Michigan State Police Officer Lentini and was taken to Macomb Jail. He just had a license plate reader that showed that my insurance was expired. Officer Lentini refused to allow me to take my wallet to jail, so I didn't have the $100 bail to get out. I went on a hunger strike and was held for 6 days in Macomb Jail. until Macomb jail guards came into my cell and beat me up so bad that the jail sent me to the hospital. The hospital confirmed the jail guards damaged my existing back injuries. Macomb jail forgave the $100 bail, and 2 Macomb police officers drove me all the way to my house. Elmont police used the fact that I had a warrant out for my arrest in Macomb County as an excuse to stalk and arrest me on 9/8/19. The reason I had a warrant for my arrest is because my court-appointed attorney, Dan Guerin, gave me the wrong date for court, and when I didn't show, he lied and told Judge Viviano that I failed to appear, so she issued a warrant for my arrest. I made video evidence of my Macomb case and forwarded it to the Elmont Police Chief, Andy Martin, and former Lapeer Prosecutor Mike Sharkey, showing exactly what happened. I went on to finally beat that case in Macomb County because the Macomb County judicial system finally realized that a crisis is not a crime. The Lapeer County judicial system isn't as diligent. They're still trying to prosecute me 15 years to life for trying to get water, so I don't die drinking water. Elmont Police Officer Ryan Wilson stalked me on 9/8/19, knowing that I was out of drinking water for over 5 days because Lapeer 911 and the Human Development Commission, which is a help group, told Elmont Police that I called both agencies begging for drinking water and protection from Elmont Police on 9/7/19, the day before Ryan Wilson stalked me. I also filed a U.S. Justice Department complaint, I also filed a U.S. Justice Department police abuse complaint against Elmont Police on 8/31/19. That's 8 days prior to Officer Ryan Wilson stalking me on 9/8/19. In the Elmont Police and former Lapeer Prosecutor In the Elmont Police and former Lapeer Prosecutor Mike Sharkey used it as a way to shut me up and finally stop me from making gross negligent complaints against Lapeer County employees. Prior to 9/8/19, I forwarded evidence videos of Dan Guerin's false testimony to Elmont Police Chief Andy Martin, who told me he watches all my evidence videos. Elmont Police Chief Andy Martin had no reason to have his police officers stalk me. Rhonda Lansing's intentional gross negligence has cost me $15,000 damage to my home, and her Social Security fraud cost me over $12,000 to date and has encumbered me for the rest of my life. I have to pay $147 for the rest of my life for something I never wanted, I never used. Corrupt Lapeer County has covered up Lapeer DHH supervisor Rhonda Lansing's Social Security fraud and are destroying my home. And she did all that damage within 2 months of applying for benefits in 2016. And that was after, in 2016, the state of Michigan allowed me to buy a car, plate it, and insure it, and then told me that I couldn't drive it until I paid $4,000 in driver's oversight fees that go back 21 years. And 2 years later, they rescinded that law, calling it parasitic and abusive to Michigan taxpayers. But that was too late. Mr. Miller, please give me all your evidence, including the falsified pictures of Elmont Police's fake wounds Monday. Respectfully, Elmont Sr., my new address, somewhere 3 hours from corrupt Lapeer County, and my phone number. Respectfully, Elmont Sr., and I put my new address somewhere 3 hours away from corrupt Lapeer County. I put my email address and cell phone and office phone.